Good morning, good day, good evening, good night, good moment. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Julie Ling from somewhere on this sweet, wild, sacred earth, and from the wild sweetness of my very own heart. This is the voice of wonder. This morning, I woke up really early, and I don't usually check my email first thing, but this morning I did. And I found an email from a very dear friend of mine. I suggested she watch one of the pieces that I did last week that I thought she would love. She's the friend who had the T-shirt that said the voice of from somewhere in the Mediterranean. This is the voice of peace that inspired me to begin these the way that I just did. And she told me how much she loved the inspiration meditation that I suggested she watch. And I won't share her email because it's private, but this is what I found myself writing back to her. And I find it really telling. I am loving doing this. I'm playing the flute every single day. So naturally, it is getting better. And I love that you are loving this. Because I am visible in a much bigger way, I'm taking better care of myself. Not only in my appearance, but doing things like qigong or yoga and other practices I've been meaning to do for years because they help me to feel clear and present. I am actually loving seeing myself on camera. I'm so happy seeing me smiling soothes you. And because I look for something inspiring to talk about every day, I find it. Because I'm inviting people to consider it or try it on or act as if for a day, I find myself doing that too, or noticing where I'm not, and then choosing again. Part of the magic of something I'd shared with her, which was a huge shift, was that I realized I was and had been for a year and a half practicing what I didn't want. When I realized that and chose to practice what I would love instead, which I did by writing it out as if it had already happened several times, and then sticking to it whenever I thought about it, the energy around it shifted. Not that I did that to change the other person, I did it to change me. And that changed everything. And that's really what I'm offering in these 15 to 20-minute inspiration meditations, offering ways to lighten oneself. And by lighten, I don't just mean make lighter, but add light to change one's own experience. And the notion that to change the way we experience the world, that can change the way we experience the world. And that has the capacity to ripple out into the world itself through everyone we touch. I realize as I write this is a practice. And as my yoga teacher used to say, practice makes better. This may just be what I talk about today. And so it is. I haven't sent the email to her yet. You get to hear it first, and I hope she'll listen. And really, when I started this, I thought all of the inspiration meditations were going to be dropping us in and seeing the light and the beauty in everybody on this sweet, wild, sacred earth. And sometimes we do that. What I'm realizing, and like, okay, I think today it's going to be it. And every time it's like, no, we find what we look for. And if we don't see it in ourselves, how can we see it out there? It's really, really hard. And in the end, it's in changing ourselves, the way we see ourselves, the way we see other people, that changes what we look for and so what we find, what we see. I don't know how to see the world out there with a kind eye if I can't see me with one. And it's really amazing and beautiful and gratifying to me that in offering this to you, if you're here, I've offered it to myself. And in receiving it, I have more to offer. I never thought when I started this that I would watch a video of myself and be in tears, that I would feel so much joy and delight that it would be practically oozing out of me. And because I've embraced this practice and I've said I'll do this every day, and recently I thought, till when? I thought, well, until the election cycle is over, until after the election is done at least, and probably at least through November, and who knows? It's a delicious practice. I may show up every day and do this for me, and I invite you to join me. And sometimes people say to me, oh, I've been trying to come in and watch, and I can't come to all of them. If that's you, I invite you to let that go. You can't watch all of them at once. It's not possible. How about just showing up as much as you can for this one? And when you feel inspired to come to another one, show up as much as you can for that one. We can only be in one moment at a time. And when we're in this moment, this now here, that can't ever come again. It's easier to show up for the next one and the next one. So if there's any part of that in you around this or anything else in your life, oh, I should do it all. Ugh. Should is all about the one right way, and I invite you, at least for today, to let go of there being one right way. And I invite you to the possibility that perhaps there are many wonderful ways that could serve you. I noticed too, as I was reading and thinking about what I'd written to my friend, that there's a lot of talk about being in service. And I love that notion of, of recognizing something greater and offering to it. And I also know, because I love words, can you tell by the way they come through me? The root of the word service is also the root of the word servant. And I don't know about you, but I am done coming from servitude. I like and if that word resonates for you, great, by all means. If it rings true in the singing bowl of your hips, in the tuning fork of what vibrates is true for you, great. For me, it doesn't. And what does resonate and vibrate is to offer my gifts out of devotion. And the roots of the word devotion come from fulfilling sacred and holy vows. And I realized yesterday the abbreviation of voice of wonder is actually vow, voice of wonder. And so I'm here offering this as a way of fulfilling my holy vows, my sacred vows to myself, to you, to this sweet, wild, sacred earth. And I invite you to look at all the ways, look for all the ways that you can fulfill yours. And I'm guessing there's more than one. We are, each of us and all of us, a bag of potato chips, and nobody can eat just one of those. So I invite you for today to give up that idea, because it's a way to exercise futilities, and I'm kind of done with that too. Sometimes it's important to take them out and exercise them, and maybe a lot less often than we do. So I'm just going to invite you to drop into and with all these ideas. A friend of mine calls me the soul stirrer. So I'm just going to imagine we're stirring up this big cauldron pot of your soul, and I'll let you drop into how it feels, all these notions and ideas, inspirations inside of you. I also feel inspired to remind you, when my daughter was really little, I was doing dishes at the kitchen sink and I said something about inspiration, and she said, or to be inspired, and she said, Mom, what does that mean? I'm looking out the kitchen window at the beautiful garden in my backyard and the tall conifers that stood a couple blocks away. And I thought, what does that mean? And I realized inspire means to breathe in. That's it. Inspiration is available to you in every single moment. All you got to do, as Oliver Guthrie would have said, is sing it the next time it comes around on the guitar, or breathe in, inspire. So I invite you to do both things while I play a little more flute. So today I invite you to simply let all this be stirred inside of you. Notice what comes up in you. Notice today how you can look for what you'd love to see, how you can practice it. And when you notice you are practicing what you don't want, also known as worrying, you're free to choose in that moment something different. Oh, how could I practice this? One of the most powerful ways for me, especially if it's entrenched, is to write it down as if it's already happened. It's like that scene towards the end of one of the Harry Potter movies where he conjures up his Patronus and he knows he can do it because he's already jumped a timeline and seen himself do it. It's kind of like that. And if I can mix in things that I have already done with the things that I'm imagining already done, it feels real. And honestly, our bodies and minds cannot tell the difference between what we are imagining and what we're experiencing. It is all perceptions filtered in through our senses. And the more you can bring in your senses to what you're imagining, the more real it feels. So I invite you to try it out. Why not? You have nothing to lose. I also invite you to just notice or offer the question, what practice is calling me, and how could I do it for me? How can I practice what I'd love, not as a manipulative way to change somebody out there or a way to push, because we know that always creates resistance. How can I do it to change myself? Because I want this fresh new me. I want this me who does the things that nourish me out of joy. And I want how the world will look because I see myself through these kind eyes. For that reason, or just for the fun of it, as a grand experiment. You may be listening thinking, oh, Julie, God, this just sounds like a bunch of woo-woo, airy-fairy nonsense, and maybe it is. And maybe it's not. What if today you suspend your disbelief and act as if, as a grand experiment, just to see what happens? And you get to choose whichever way. And whichever way you choose, I thank you for being here. I thank you for joining me. I hope you have a beautiful, blessed day and that you see yourself with kind eyes, with eyes of love, with eyes of outrageous joy. And if you can't find them inside yourself, I invite you to borrow mine. Thank you for being here. This is the Voice of Wonder, and I'm Julie Ling. Let your heart sing.